Hey folks, welcome back. A bit of a impromptu, unplanned video, and the reason being is I've been feeling really low energy in the recent week and having a hard time with pain flare-ups in particular. So I had a little look back at what videos people had been viewing on my YouTube just out of curiosity, and it turns out I've had quite an uptake in my 𝗬𝗁𝗀𝗀 video. That's quite an old video given that we've moved house since then. So completely different room, completely different desk. I know that you can't see the legs of it. They're not super cute, but you will see them later. My altar space is just a desk still, although it has a lot of beautiful stuff on it, which brings me to the reminder that we all say, so hopefully everyone knows by now, you don't need stuff to practice. My altar is a reflection of my practice, so it's going to have things that make sense to me. And of course, as my practice ebbs and flows, what I have on here in terms of tools and representations will also ebb and flow and change. I actually spend a lot of time indoors, and therefore over time, I've accumulated quite a bit. I work from indoors, like I say, it makes sense for me. It feels nice to have things in my space that I can interact with and utilise. That's just the reality. If I woke up free of pain and disability, whilst I wouldn't just get rid of everything, I can assure you that a lot more of my practice would take place outside and things would definitely change. So there are always things to keep in mind when you're seeing anyone else's, because, as I say, it's just a reflection of my practice. It's not necessarily going to reflect anyone else's. It's just so that you can have a nosy at what's going on my altar in 2024. I'm very fortunate in that I have a room, so I have quite a bit of space to spread out in. I predominantly have most of the things I own in this room, to be fair, not around the rest of the house, because this is the one that I spend the most time in. Also, I work from this room, and for that reason, not everything is shown in this video. Some of it's just not of any interest to people. You know, I've got a locked client file for my therapy clients, and I wasn't about to do a whole room tour. If you want to see that, you have to hop over onto my Patreon, I'm afraid. But I figured that I would let you have a look at some bits and pieces, see the spot that I recalled from, where I get up to stuff. Another thing that you'll notice probably by now is that it is very, very clean. That has been done specifically for this video. So in terms of transparency, I wasn't about to show off any workings in motion or anything like that. I was doing a bit of a spring clean anyway because dust is not my friend. This space does not look like this on a regular basis. It usually has a working or cards or something sprawled across it, or I'm recording from it, which in that case I've pushed everything to the sides. Predominantly, describing myself as a practitioner has boiled down to folk witch meets pagan. To go into the intricacies of my practice is not something I feel like I have the energy for right now. I do have quite a few intros spotted about, including one pinned at the top on Instagram. I have a whole about me section on Patreon, which everyone and anyone can see, and I also have a website. So if you want to go and have a nosy and sort of see how everything fits into my little world, as far as I've shared anyway, there's some good places to check that out. You know, there's a lot that I integrate into my practice, and it is very intricative, and I think that that's a word that I prefer over eclectic, because eclectic witchcraft seems to have a different feel to it in the way that I've heard others describe it. And as I say, predominantly my actual practice of the craft falls very much into folklore, folk magic, local practices, animism, and some paganism. And I think that there's always going to be nuances in the way that everyone shows up for those things, and also how people define and describe them. But I think that those are good representations of me. So then I feel like the word intricative is probably the thing that I've taken from my therapy work, and integrating many of the theories and models and therapeutic approaches that I have trained and studied in, and then utilising them in a tailored fashion depending on who I'm working with at any one time. That's a little bit how I go about my practice. It's not anything and everything. It can still be defined in those few broad areas, but of course then it's something that I make my own. And again, intricative is probably a good term for the way that I read the tarot as well, because it's not just solely intuitive, it's not just solely ரிder-Waite-Smith or numerology. It's a really nice blending for me that I've accumulated over the many years of working with tarot. I think that that's enough of a spiel, so let's jump in and have a little look around what I have going on here at the moment. I figured we'd get a little bit closer now. I wanted you to be able to see the top part because that was actually where I put my animal medicine / animal gnosis / animal that I'm working with for the month. If you're a Patreon, then you'll know what animal gnosis is as part of my practice and what I offer into the world. Otherwise, you can go and check it out. But that's where I keep that. Otherwise, you can see that this is the bulk of my altar space, and it looks quite busy, but this is quite spacious for me, I'll be honest. And predominantly I have Odin on the left, I have Freyja on the right, I have some representations that I feel align with those, some cherished tarot decks, runes, and then we move into a lot of fox representation, especially in the middle. I work with fox spirit a lot. That is an animal that I am particularly connected to. Also cat. You can see the cat skull down by Freyja. What else is really significant here? My pagan prayer beads, which my dear friend Tamara created for me, and they actually have in them representations that are personal to me for the 4 elements, which is really cool. So it's got this tiny little vial, and it's got, you know, fox hair and the other 3 bits in them. I keep some of my foraged feathers on here, and a few that friends have found for me as well, and just some other significant knickknacks. So to call them knickknacks feels really like I'm not doing them justice. But for argument's sake, things like there's a badger's tooth. I am speaking over what I was doing, but I just figured I'd show you a few of the things that I do when I sit at my altar. And one of the things that I start with is spritzing it if I feel like I'm coming to it for ritual, or if I want to cleanse. I've got a few different sprays for a few different things, so that's a kind of general understanding. Sometimes I have one particularly that I only really use for Freyja, but that's what I was doing here. And then recently I've got this serpent roll-on from Candles in the Moon, which I freaking love. So that I do try and put on my wrists every morning when I'm at my altar. Honestly, there are some days I don't do those things. There are some days it's really fast and quick and dirty, so to speak. And there are some days that I don't come to my altar because I can barely get out of bed. So that's the reality of all of this discussion, really. And of course, this is the place that I prefer to do my tarot readings, although I have another desk, which I'll chuck in at the end just so you can see. My partner often laughs and says, I can't believe you've got 2 desks. And I keep explaining to him that whilst this space is a desk, because it was his, he gave it to me, it used to be his working desk. It's technically an altar now, so the other one is a desk. But yeah. You will have seen by now my very cute tarot board, which is from Pandora Witch Shop. I have ended up being a bit of a walk-in advertisement for them, but that is my tarot board, and if you're curious, that's the Wildwood Tarot that I just shuffled with. This rattle is a dear, dear piece to me that my friend created for me, so it's particularly special. Vanessa sent me the most wholesome, magical package full of nature finds and wonderful items, and this rattle is the tool that I use the most, and it's something that I use at my altar a lot for sound work and cleansing. As I say, I am a walking advertisement for Pandora Witch Shop. I love their stuff. They also gifted me a lot, although these items I bought. So that's my Wheel of the Year. And then you can see here my little tarot box, or it's tarot meets trinket. This was a gift from them. I've got my antique anatomy tarot in there with a snake shed from one of my friend's snakes. I do like to keep items personal where possible, or support people that I sort of have a connection with, I suppose. Some amber resin that my parents got me, and they're often used in ritual with 𝗺𝗺, and some little candle knickknacks as well. But I am so utterly obsessed with these little drawers that I must get some more. I don't plan to get the exact same type, but I definitely have another set of drawers on my wish list. And then this little jawbone, just as a representation of the many bones you will see in my space, was found and sent to me by one of my dear friends. All of my furs, bones, antlers, they're all ethically cruelty-free sourced. Barring one fur, I feel that it's still an ethical piece. It was sent to me by a friend a very long time ago. She purchased it in support of an Indigenous family who hunt as a part of their everyday way of living, as a part of their practice. They utilise all the animals, they live off of the land, they live a very different lifestyle to us. But otherwise, my antlers, as you can see, are naturally shed. And yeah, I like to take those things into consideration with the bits and pieces that I am bringing into my space. As promised, here's the ugly legs of my very, very cool desk though, because, you know, I've got to love the thing that holds my altar. And I've got some tarot decks here, some more fox representation, a little 𝗳𝗄𝗄𝗃, and in one of the boxes it's got loads of herbs and my poppet and other things that are tools I want to access regularly. And then here's another tarot box. Moving on, because I told you, greedy. Also stuck indoors, and I don't care if that sounds like a justification. That is genuinely my truth. This is why I have a secondary altar spot. More importantly, I really needed some storage, and this is mainly a storage solution, albeit very small. What you'll come to notice is, aside from the bookshelves, I don't actually have much storage space. So this is set up with the weaver that I work with, and I work with weavers for a very long time before I change them out. No set period, just a long while. And then I have predominantly 𝗙 and 𝗫𝘂 decks underneath, with a few items that I either regularly use, or they are actually flowovers from Odin and 𝗺𝗺 that I don't always want to have in and on the main altar, but they are significant to some of the devotional and ritual pieces that I do with the pair of them. And I had wanted to pan down, but it was rather shaky, so here is a still shot of the rest, which is actually a large portion of my tarot and oracle collection. This slides, so it's like a farmhouse style, and on the other side I have again lots of witchy tools and herbs and bits and bobs in there. Then here's a quick shot of the fireplace. Whilst I'm not going to take you on a room tour, as I say, if I don't show the fireplace, someone will ask about it. It's been seen a few times. I think I did like a shorts and also on Instagram, and people are pretty in love with it. It's very cool. It's not actually functional. The landlords have blocked it off, but it's a really nice vibe to have the hearth in here. But yeah, not in action. And then here's a little snippet of one of my bookcases. This one has quite a mixture, but I suppose it's quite witchy, tarot based. It's got a lot of poetry, more fox representation, some of my ritualistic tools, some of which you've already seen, some pieces of art that I've bought when we've been out and about. It's actually got the urn for two of my geckos' ashes. I've got all sorts here. Between the tarot and the witchcraft books, I've also got lots and lots of animal research books because, of course, it's me. That's something that interests me. So lots of animal field guides, encyclopedias, you name it. I think that that's about it for now. As I say, I wasn't really aiming to come on and have a big discussion about my practice, who I am as a witch, all of the things that I do. That just feels like such a huge undertaking. I would be here for absolute hours. But what I would say is, if there was anything that you wanted to know more about, if there was something that caught your eye that you want to ask a question about, if this spurs other questions in your mind, please do comment below and ask them. Perhaps I can answer in follow-up videos or comments depending on what the question is and how many I get, I guess. If you're curious, my other bookshelf has a mini devotional space as well, has a bunch of therapy books, a bunch of nerdy gaming books, some Pokemon stuff. I am quite a mishmash really, so there's lots of bits and bobs. And also in the witch room, I actually share space with my beautiful leopard gecko Rogue, whose vivarium is in here, along with a now empty vivarium, although it's set up and it has all toy dinosaurs in it and stuff. But yeah, this is the space. This is where I come to do my personal practice. This is where I read cards for myself, where I read cards for other people. This is the space that I see my therapy clients. Although they have a different view, I sit in different places to just separate those two different working formats, I suppose. It will either make sense to you or it won't, but mostly I just hope that you enjoyed having a good nose around, because that's what I like about these videos. I am nosy, I like to see. So now you came, you listened, you saw, and you may leave. Have a lovely day, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.